Move it! A voice sliced through the sterile silence of the executive floor. Serena Jackson didn't look up, her hands moving in a steady, practiced rhythm as she wiped down the baseboard of the long, glass-walled corridor. The squeak of her rubber-soled shoes was the only sound she permitted herself to make. In this world of polished marble and hushed ambition, invisibility was her uniform, more so than the simple gray jumpsuit she wore. Julian Vance, CEO of Vance Industries, stood impatiently by the elevator, his $1,000 suit feeling more like a cage than a symbol of his power. He held a carton of orange juice, a pathetic attempt to follow his doctor's orders for a healthier lifestyle. He cared little for it. He cared little for anything since his father passed, leaving him an empire he felt he was merely babysitting. His eyes, cold and distant, fell upon the janitor, a faceless, nameless cog in a machine so vast he could no longer see the parts. "I said, move it! You're in my way!" Serena rose slowly, her back aching from the long hours. She met his gaze for a fleeting second, her own eyes holding a quiet dignity that he found, for some reason, irritating. "My apologies, sir." The apology was polite, but it wasn't subservient. It held no fear. It was the simple statement of a woman who knew her worth, regardless of her station. And in that moment, something brittle and ugly inside Julian snapped. Was it his grief, his loneliness, the crushing weight of a legacy he never wanted? He would never know. He simply acted. With a flick of his wrist, he upended the carton. Cold, sticky orange juice cascaded down, splashing over her clean gray uniform, pooling on the floor she had just meticulously polished. A deliberate, contemptuous act. "Now you have something to do," he sneered, dropping the empty carton beside the mess. "Clean it up." Every head that had been buried in a laptop in the nearby cubicles turned. They saw the spill. They saw the powerful CEO and the humiliated janitor. But they saw it through the prism of power, and so they saw nothing at all. They turned back to their screens. In that instant, Julian Vance had just made the biggest mistake of his life. An act of... She retrieved her mop and bucket. Her work wasn't done. From the 40th floor penthouse office that had been his father's, Julian watched the city lights glitter like a cold, distant galaxy. The view was supposed to signify power, dominance. Tonight, it only magnified his emptiness. The image of the janitor's face, her brief, unflinching gaze, kept replaying in his mind. He had acted like a tyrant, a spoiled child. Why? He had inherited his father's fortune, his company, his name, but none of his father's character. The elder Vance had known the name of every janitor, every security guard. He'd believed that a company's foundation wasn't in its stock price, but in the dignity of its people. Julian, lost in his own world of silent grief, had forgotten every lesson. He buzzed his assistant. "Get me the file on the night shift custodial staff for the executive floor, now." The request was unusual, but his tone forbade questions. An hour later, a name was on his screen. Serena Jackson. Single mother. Employee for 2 years. No complaints. Perfect attendance. It was a file of quiet, unassuming diligence. It did nothing to explain the disquiet he felt. He had to see for himself. He had to understand the world he commanded, but did not know. The next day, a new janitor was added to the night crew roster. His name was Jay. He wore a simple gray uniform, his face obscured by a baseball cap, his billionaire's hands uncomfortably gripping the handle of a cleaning cart. He was going undercover in his own company, a king masquerading as a peasant, to understand the kingdom he was letting crumble from the inside out. His first night was a lesson in a reality he had never conceived. The world after 6 p.m. in Vance Tower was a different universe. The ambitious executives were gone, replaced by a quiet, efficient army of cleaners, security guards, and maintenance workers. They were the ghosts who reset the board every night, so the kings and queens could play again the next day. He found Serena in the third-floor break room, carefully cleaning a microwave caked with the remnants of a dozen microwaved lunches. Angry rhythm on the tile. She ran a gloved finger over a desktop Serena had just polished. "Dust," she declared, her voice dripping with condescending satisfaction. "I expect this to be perfect, Jackson. Perfect. The delegation from Innovate Futures will be here next week. They value precision. They value cleanliness. If we lose this $90 billion deal because of your incompetence, I will hold you personally responsible." The threat was absurd, a manager blaming a janitor for a corporate merger, but her malice was real. Julian watched from the far end of the hall, his fists clenching at his sides. He saw Serena simply nod. "Yes, Miss Croft, I'll do it again." No defiance, no argument, just a weary resilience that spoke of 1,000 similar battles fought and endured. He saw it then. This wasn't just a job to Serena. It was a battlefield, and dignity was her only shield. A few nights later, Jay found Serena in the deserted cafeteria, sitting alone at a table, sketching in a small notebook. Her brow was furrowed in concentration. The harsh fluorescent lights softened the tired lines around her eyes, revealing a beauty and intelligence that her gray uniform was designed to obscure. He approached cautiously, holding a cup of coffee. "Long night," he said, offering a small smile. She looked up, startled. Then her expression relaxed when she saw it was him. "They're all long nights," she replied, but there was a hint of warmth in her voice. She closed the notebook, but not before he caught a glimpse of the drawing, a complex, elegant design, something that looked like a blueprint for a new kind of engine. "What's that?" he asked, genuinely curious. Serena hesitated, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. It was a look he was beginning to recognize, the look of someone used to guarding every part of herself. "It's just a silly idea," she murmured. "My son, Leo, he loves machines. I try to come up with things for him." She finally decided to trust the quiet kindness she saw in this new janitor. "He's sick, a rare respiratory condition. You know?" He knew. Or rather, he understood the sentiment, even if he couldn't fathom the reality of such a sacrifice. His own father had sacrificed everything for him, building an empire to hand him. And what had he done with it? He treated it like a burden and its people like dirt. He looked at Serena, at the brilliance she hid away in a cheap notebook on her break, at the profound love that drove her to endure nightly humiliations from people like Veronica Croft, and he felt a profound, gut-wrenching shame. "You're an amazing woman, Serena," he said, the words feeling clumsy and inadequate. She gave him a small, sad smile, thinking it was just the kind words of a fellow worker, a moment of solidarity in the lonely hours of the night. She had no idea she was speaking to the one man who could change her entire world, the man who was, at that very moment, realizing she might be the key to changing his. The $90 billion deal with Innovate Futures wasn't just about money. It was a legacy project his father had started. Innovate Futures was a company renowned for its ethics, for its belief in human potential. Their CEO, a formidable woman named Eleanor Vance, no relation, a cosmic irony, was known to walk away from deals if she sensed a toxic corporate culture. Julian now understood that the poison in his company wasn't on the balance sheets. It was in the hallways, personified by the petty cruelties of people like Veronica. The pressure mounted as the week of the Innovate Futures visit began. Veronica Croft's reign of terror escalated. She seemed to have singled out Serena as the sole focus of her anxiety. One evening, she planted a half-eaten expensive pastry in a trash can Serena had just emptied. She then discovered it and accused Serena of stealing food from the executive lounge. Do you know how much this costs? Veronica shrieked, holding up the mangled dessert as if it were a murder weapon. This is grounds for immediate termination. I am writing you up, Jackson. One more mark on your record and you are out of here. Do you understand me? Julian, mopping a floor nearby, witnessed the entire setup. He saw the calculated cruelty, the way Veronica enjoyed the fear she was creating in Serena's eyes. He had to physically restrain himself from stepping in, from tearing off his cap and ending the charade right there. But it was of solidarity, of witness. He saw her. He believed her. For Serena, who had felt invisible for so long, it was a profound kindness. She looked at this quiet, unassuming man, this fellow janitor who showed her more respect than any executive in the building, and felt a flicker of hope. He couldn't fix her problems, but he made her feel less alone in them. Julian, however, could fix her problems. That night, he went not to his penthouse, but to his real office. He pulled up the security footage. There it was, clear as day. Veronica Croft, looking over her shoulder before slipping the pastry into the clean trash bag. He saved the file to a secure drive. The evidence was piling up. He wasn't just an observer anymore. He was an archivist of injustice, preparing for a trial no one knew was coming. The midpoint had been crossed. The cruelty was no longer just casual. It was strategic. And Julian knew he had to make a choice. He could not stand by and simply watch anymore. He had to act, not as Jay the janitor, but as Julian Vance, the CEO. His first move was subtle. He sent an anonymous email to the head of HR from a burner account, attaching the video clip of Veronica planting the pastry. The email was simple. There is a management issue on the third floor that requires your attention. This kind of behavior is a liability, especially with the Innovate deal pending. He didn't ask for Veronica to be fired, just for her to be watched. He wanted to give the system his father built a chance to correct itself. The next day, Veronica was called into a meeting with HR. She emerged an hour later, her face a mask of controlled fury. She had been given a formal warning. For a narcissist like Veronica, a warning was a mortal wound to her pride. And like a wounded animal, she became more dangerous, more desperate. She knew someone had reported her. Her paranoid eyes scanned the floor, searching for the source of her humiliation. And her gaze fell on Serena. In her twisted logic, the person she had wronged must be the one who had wronged her. The quiet, dignified janitor became the target of her full, unbridled venom. Julian's intervention had backfired, escalating the danger to Serena instead of alleviating. He was preparing to change her life, and in doing so, to irrevocably change his own company. He was rejecting the value system that had allowed a Veronica to thrive and a Serena to suffer. He was choosing to build a company his father would be proud of, a company built on brilliance and character, not on title and cruelty. But just as he was putting his grand plan into motion, Veronica made her final, desperate move. The day before the signing ceremony with Innovate Futures, the entire building was on high alert. Final preparations were being made. Veronica, knowing she was under scrutiny, saw her chance to eliminate Serena once and for all. She took a valuable prototype from the R&D lab, a small, intricate device worth millions, and slipped it into Serena's cleaning cart, hiding it beneath a pile of rags. Then she made an anonymous call to security. "The night janitor, Serena Jackson. I saw her take something from the lab. You need to check her cart." Two security guards, grim-faced and uncomfortable, intercepted Serena as she was finishing her shift. Julian, watching from a security monitor he had tapped into, felt his blood run cold. This was it, the ultimate setback. "Ma'am, we need to search your belongings." Serena was confused but complied, knowing that to resist would only make her look guilty. Her heart hammered in her chest as the guards began to rummage through her cart. And then, one of them pulled out the prototype. Serena's eyes widened in horror. I've never seen that before in my life, she stammered, her voice trembling. I swear, someone put it there. But her pleas fell on deaf ears. From the end of the hallway, Veronica Croft watched with a triumphant smirk. She had won. The guards read Serena her rights. The click of the handcuffs around her wrists echoed in the empty corridor like a death knell for her hopes, her job, her ability to care for her son. As they led her away, a single tear finally escaped and traced a path down her cheek. All seemed lost. She was fired. She was arrested. She was utterly broken, framed by a system designed to protect the powerful and crush the powerless. Julian watched the scene unfold on the monitor. A company's future. She felt untouchable. The ceremony began. Julian Vance was scheduled to give the opening remarks and sign the deal, but he was nowhere to be seen. His seat on the dais was empty. Whispers began to circulate. Veronica stepped up to the podium, a picture of calm authority. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems Mr. Vance has been delayed. In his absence, as the executive liaison for this project, I would like to— That won't be necessary, the voice came from the back of the room. A side service door opened, and a man in a janitor's uniform stepped through, pushing a cleaning cart. It was Jay. He walked slowly, deliberately, down the center aisle. A wave of confusion and outrage rippled through the room. Security guards moved to intercept him. "Sir, you can't be in here." But he waved them off with an authority that was utterly incongruous with his attire. All eyes were on him. Veronica's face went pale with shock, then contorted in rage. "What is the meaning of this? Get this man out of here! Security!" The man stopped at the foot of the dais. He took off his baseball cap, revealing the unmistakable face of Julian Vance. A collective gasp sucked the air from the room. He was not wearing his usual tailored suit, but the simple gray uniform of his most invisible employees. He looked directly at Veronica, his eyes burning with a cold fire. "You're right, Veronica," he said, his voice amplified by the room's microphone system. "This man, this janitor, has no place here. According to you," he turned to the stunned audience, to Eleanor Vance, whose expression was now one of intense intrigue. "For the past 2 weeks, I have worked as a janitor in my own company. I wanted to see the foundation my father built, and I did. I saw people of incredible integrity and dedication, and I saw people like Ms. Croft, who believe that power gives them the right to abuse, to humiliate, and to destroy." On the large screen behind the podium, where a corporate logo was supposed to be, a video began to play. It was the security footage of Veronica planting the pastry, then another clip of her verbally abusing Serena, and finally, a crystal-clear video of her slipping the prototype into Serena's cart. The room was evaporated in the harsh light of public truth. The takedown was complete, but Julian wasn't finished. "The signing of this deal today is contingent on one thing," he announced, his gaze sweeping the room and landing on Eleanor Vance. "It is contingent on our shared belief that a company's greatest asset is its people. All of its people." At that moment, another door opened. Serena Jackson entered, flanked by Julian's personal lawyer. She had been released, all charges dropped. She wore a simple, elegant dress that Julian's assistant had provided. She looked bewildered, overwhelmed, as she walked toward the stage. Julian met her at the steps, taking her hand. He led her to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Serena Jackson. For the past 2 years, she has worked tirelessly to keep this building running, all while raising a son on her own and designing engineering concepts in her spare time that are more brilliant than anything my own R&D team has produced." He slid a document across the table to her, along with a pen. "This $90 billion deal is about the future, and the future of Vance Industries is not about people like Veronica Croft. It's about people like Serena Jackson. He turned to her, his voice softening. Serena, the real deal I want to make today is with you. I am asking you to become the first Chief Innovation Officer of our new Leo Jackson Innovation Wing. He then pointed to the contract on the table. Will you do us the honor of signing this partnership agreement with Innovate Futures as the new face of Vance Industries? Tears streamed down Serena's face, but this time they were tears of shock, of vindication, of a hope so vast she could barely comprehend it. Her trembling hand took the pen. In front of the world's media, the single mom janitor signed the $90 billion deal, her signature flowing next to Eleanor Vance's, who was now beaming with approval. The room erupted in thunderous applause. The reversal of fortune was absolute, a public baptism of a company being reborn. Julian looked at Serena, no longer seeing a janitor or a victim, but an equal, a leader. Industries was transformed from the ground up. Julian Vance was a changed man. He no longer lived in the penthouse office, preferring to work from a smaller desk in the innovation wing, close to Serena. He had found the human connection he had been starving for. His grief for his father had not disappeared, but it had been transformed into a motivation to build a legacy worthy of his father's memory. He and Serena were partners, in business and, increasingly, in life. Their bond, forged in the quiet hours of the night shift and tempered in the fire of public confrontation, had deepened into a profound love and respect. One evening, as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city, the same view that had once seemed so cold and lonely to Julian now felt warm and full of promise. "You know," Serena said softly, leaning against him, "I still have my old uniform." Julian smiled, wrapping his arm around her. "Good," he replied. "We'll frame it. We'll hang it in the main lobby, to remind everyone that true value isn't in a title or a suit, but in the character of the person wearing it." It was a testament to their new reality, a world where justice had prevailed, where cruelty was punished, and where the quiet dignity of a single mother had proven more powerful than $1 billion fortune. For what truly matters in the end? Is it the power we hold over others, or the kindness we show them? The story of Julian and Serena would become a legend at Vance Industries, a reminder